Welcome back. You're not watching the political segment on the weekend show, and we will be discussing on this segment state of the nation, democracy and governance in Nigeria. Now, what are the barriers to deepening democracy in Nigeria, and how can these be overcome? Today, we will examine the positive and negative trends for democracy in Nigeria. In Nigeria, authoritarian rule by an institutionalized oligarchy constitutes the main structural threat to deepening democratic rule. Transforming this and transforming Nigeria will take electing the right leader who has the interest of the people at heart and who is interested in taking us further when it comes to governance. Now, the President Muhammadu Buhari administration started by saying they would fight corruption, insecurity, and the economy. Where are we since then? Where have we been? How has it fared so far? And we will be having that conversation today. And discussing that with me, I have Dr. Ibrahim Dauda, a politician, an APC chieftain. You also were a CPC member and a chieftain as well. But besides that, you are an accountant, you're also into management, and you have a doctorate in business management. Welcome to the Weekend Show.
Thank you. Good morning.
Right, so let's go into it. The APC, which you are a part of, one of the things they spoke about during the 2015 election was the economy. How do you think Nigeria has fared between 2015 and now when it comes to the economy of Nigeria?
Thank you very much. The economy of Nigeria has fared its mixed position between doing well and not doing too well, not doing so well, and then doing well. What I mean by that is, between 2015, 2016, 17, we saw a downslide and went into recession, partly due to impact of global events, activities within the country, and the country's economic processes reacting to both political activities, security problems, and global impact based on what is happening or what has happened globally. After that, we slightly came out of recession, and the economy seems to have picked up at a point when the system was almost finding its feet from the recession processes. COVID came in, and it was a global phenomenon that affected every country on earth, and that changed the entire dynamics, and that affected not only Nigeria but every other country in the world. And it again impacted on not only the economy but on the entire system. Nigeria, unfortunately, it's hugely dependent on fossil oil, crude oil. And the downslide in the price of crude oil between 2015 to 2017, 18, and 19 saw Nigeria struggling with internally generated revenue as against the revenue we get from oil export. And no thanks to the reduction of our production capacity due to partly diversification by the majors, because a lot of them are divesting from crude oil production to renewable energy, because that is where the world is moving to, and partly by vandalization of pipelines, bunkering, and other forms of oil theft, which directly or indirectly have impacted on the production capacity of Nigeria to meet up with the OPEC quota. And that also affected our revenue, because if you don't produce the maximum of what we are supposed to produce per day, per barrel of crude oil, definitely the money that is supposed to accrue to the Federation account will be less.
But Dr. Dauda, sorry to cut you short. President Buhari spoke about fixing the refineries before he ran.
Yes.
And secondly, with the crisis between Ukraine and Russia right now, oil prices are at an all-time high. And if these refineries were fixed, if our production was fixed as promised, wouldn't we have been better for it? And so isn't this a failure of governance for us to be experiencing this problem and still blaming other factors when this was the same things we're hearing 7 years ago?
Yes, we're trying to analyze the positive and the negative side as when the economy is doing well and when the economy is doing bad. Before you blame A or B, you need to objectively look at the indices that accumulate into bringing the system to that position. I'm not saying that the system is as healthy as it should be. No. There are a lot of problems, there are a lot of turbulences, there are shortcomings in terms of expectations, there are shortcomings in delivery. That is true. But what factors have affected the system to bring it to that level? Governance is part of it, which we will discuss that. But we're discussing the generality of the system. The refineries you mentioned, I'm not in the decision-making process of the government. I'm only going to speak as my opinion and what I see. Nigeria's refineries have been there for decades. And one thing with technology, which everybody knows today, has evolved. Just like the Ajakuta and other, heavy projects we have, the technologies that initially were used to set up those infrastructure, most of whom are either non-existent today or have been advanced to an extent that these ones are almost obsolete. So I don't know what the system is doing or have done. I don't know what NNPC is doing or has done regarding either turnaround or, repairing the refineries.
Doctor, let me rephrase this. If you were the president of Nigeria, because you're a politician and someday you will be running for president, hopefully, according to the grapevines, what will you do to fix the oil and energy sector?
If I were president,
yes,
what I will do first is to build new refineries, because struggling with the present technology and turning around and trying to bring new things into an old system would only drag you back. You've seen what Dangote has done. He has built the biggest and the largest refinery in Africa, which will process 650,000 barrels of crude oil per day. Now, there is what you call modular refineries of between 50 to 100,000 barrels per day. And some of them are prefabricated. If you want 10 modular refineries today of 50 barrels per day, that will give you 500 barrels, 500 barrels per day. Now, Dangote is 550 barrels per day. So, 550,000 barrels per day, sorry. So, these are 50,000 barrels per day modular refineries. That will give you 500,000 barrels per day. And within 3 to 6 months, you can assemble a fabricated modular refinery and get it operational within a year or a year and a half.
Okay, that's a good way to put it, and I think that comes with priorities, and I like that you've mentioned modular refineries. Yes. But rapid fire, let's talk corruption. The head of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission was found with his hand in the cookie jar, pretty much. Till today, we've not heard about the final stages of the prosecution. The secretary to the government, the former secretary to the government, was also accused of corruption, which is in court. And so for a president who was touted for his integrity, and he said he was coming to fight corruption, we've also seen the saga with the NDDC. What would be a better way to fight corruption?
If I were president today, one of the first things I would do in terms of fighting corruption, you see, you have to take out the incentives for corruption. You have to go back to the cause. What we are doing in fighting corruption is reactionary. We are reacting to corruption. What we should be doing is preventing corruption. And you cannot prevent corruption when you operate an analog system. A larger percentage of the Nigerian system, in terms of the administrative, bureaucratic system, operates largely on an analog platform. There is too much of paper processes, which humans are in control of. And when you give that space too much, that incentive for corruption will never go. Let me give you an example. In the procurement process, for instance, you have to file your submissions manually in documents. It will be the pre-qualification processes, the technical processes, the financial processes. They are all paper documented processes. Documentation is in paper. So you have human beings handling documentations, and they are in charge of scoring and evaluating companies. Now, that is a corruption. That is a huge incentive for corruption, because they can hold, no matter how qualified a company is, for instance, certain individuals can decide to hold those documents and frustrate the companies and bend them to paying money before they qualify them. So if you want to only wait for them to commit the crime before you now get them arrested and prosecute them, you are not going to fight corruption, you are going to react to corruption. So what I would do is to go to the cause, digitalize the process. You can sit in your house, get your tender process digitally, online, and it's not difficult. It's just to get the system to communicate. The FIRS, the BPP, the CSC, and every other institution of government will be synchronized on the platform in such a manner that when you file a document, and if you have a CSC certificate, we have digital processes that can code the certificate and give it a digital footprint, where if you scan it and update it, the system at the other side will be able to recognize that footprint and know whether it is original or not. These are done everywhere in the world. So when you digitalize those processes, you completely remove that incentive for corruption, because the person will not be able to now tamper with your documentation or your scoring or whatever processes, and you have a seamless process. So this is just an example of what we do.
So talking about documentation and digitization, what's your take on cryptocurrency and using blockchain to enhance processes?
The controversy surrounding cryptocurrency, blockchain technology, and artificial intelligence is something Nigeria should imbibe, because whether we like it or not, it's just like renewable energy. In the next 10 to 15 years from now, you will have completely cars without engine. So if we are still thinking that in the next 10, 15 years or 20 years, we will still go to a car shop and buy a car that has an engine, we might as well be thinking twice, because it's going to come whether we like it or not. Cryptocurrency, digital blockchain, it's what is in vogue today globally. The major problem the system have been having globally or everywhere in the world is the integrity and the processes of tracking to make sure that criminals and twisted individuals do not have access of, perpetrating their activities without being, without the government having the capacity to track and know what they are doing. But with the same technology, with the deployment of the same blockchain, advanced cybersecurity structures, artificial intelligence, and other form of, added value that technologies have brought in, the dark web is no more hidden. Institutions can now track cryptocurrencies. They can track activities of cryptocurrencies, where they are coming from, where they are going to. All that is being done now. So I think what we will do, if I'm president today, is to bring in the institutions that are responsible for monetary processes of financial activities, the anti-graft agencies, and do a holistic overview of each category of digital currencies available and their compliance processes. There are certain digital currencies that have, compliance, that have been compliant in their system. And some are even working with EFCC and other anti-graft agencies.
Doctor, let's talk about security. We have seen insecurity evolve from the threat of insurgency and Boko Haram to header farmer crisis to kidnapping, and now we also have sectional situations with people calling for secession in the southeast and also with the likes of people in the southwest. How do we fix the security problem?
Well, if today I am president, the first thing to do, there are basically three things to do in security management. And I've said it time and time again. First, you have to secure your borders. You have about 84 legal borders crossing and about 1,400 to 1,500 illegal border crossing points. And Nigeria occupies an area of 923,700 and about 82 or 3,000 square kilometers. Policing this area is not something you can do with only human beings. The Nigerian Custom and other allied agencies that are responsible for manning the border points are not going to be staffed enough to man this area. So what are we going to do? We're going to do a hybrid of personnel, equipment, and technology. Now, these three, how it will work is, you are going to bring in, just like we said initially, a combination of satellite intelligence, geospatial intelligence, human intelligence, signal intelligence, and all other forms of intelligence that combines drones, ground unmanned vehicles, and then human manned vehicles and human patrols. When you synchronize these three or four, you are reducing the capacity of the human beings, that's the personnel, to sabotage the process. Because what we are having is a system where if you deploy people in the border and there is no method of checking them, you have other people checking people, there will be compromise along the whole chain. But when you introduce, artificial intelligence, linking it to satellite, geotagging that particular border point, you'll be sitting in your office and seeing what is happening at every border point in a synchronized manner, in such a way that if anybody crosses the illegal points, and it doesn't take anything to geospatially, peg the entire Nigeria's border. And if you do that, you're going to have your entire border digitally mapped on the satellite. And you provide the green zone, which is the entry point that is allowed. Now, the border communities between Nigeria, Chad, Niger, Benin, Cameroon, we in the government will go down there, and the government of the other country will meet at the border and enlighten the border communities that, look, these are the official border points, and these are the reasons. There are going to be weaponized drones and equipment that are not human, and if they see you crossing illegally, they may take action that may hurt you. If you allow, because weapons, ammunitions cannot come to Nigeria except through the border. So that is why we have to secure the border first. If you secure the border and control the movement of arms, then you come to the country and invoke the law on collaborators of these criminals and terrorist groups. If you take out the collaborators, secure your borders, you have isolated them. They are not going to have ammunition even if they have the money. They can't get arms even if they have the money. And by that, it's a matter of time when the security forces move in. It will going to be a matter of time before they are taken out.
An ongoing conversation in the 2023 election is going to be centered around inclusion and zoning. Now, when we talk about inclusion, we talk about the fact that you have at least 400 ethnic groups in Nigeria. You have youths, you have women, you have men, and you have different religions. And so Nigeria is a very diverse country. You fall into two categories. Below 50 for now, and also you're from the northeast part of Nigeria, from Borno State. There have been agitations for zoning of the presidency, which isn't captured in the Constitution of Nigeria. However, it was something introduced by the PDP, and it's a conversation which has been ongoing. What's your take on zoning, first of all? Let's start with zoning.
Well, I have said it so many times that I am an advocate of no zoning.
Okay.
And my reasons are this. And I always ask the question, how has zoning impacted positively on Nigeria? If it has, will we be talking about it by now? Will we be talking about economic problems, security problems, agitations? It means it has not worked. And there's a common saying that when you do the same thing over and over again and expect a different result, then you are the fool. So we are doing something over and over again, and it has proved not to have worked. And we're still advocating for it. You have presidents in this country from 1999 to date, from all the zones, the two zones, south and north, not minding which, sub-zone you come from. It's about the north and the south. And we have cases where the president comes from a particular zone, neglected his zone, and another president comes from the other zone and then impacted on the zone. You have those situations.
But Doctor, I will let you continue.
Yes.
But we do have, in Nigeria, 61 years of existence as an independent country. 41 years from the 61 has had leadership from one region, the northern side of Nigeria, and the other sides have had, say, another 20. Our constitution speaks about federal character. If you aren't an advocate of zoning, does that mean you're also not an advocate of federal character?
No. Federal character is one thing. Zoning is another thing. Federal character is about equitable distribution of Nigeria's wealth. Equitable. Now, zoning, it's about rotation of power. Now, you can, within context, link it to federal character, but they are not the same. Because federal character is distribution of wealth. Zoning is rotation of one position. The president, the vice president, automatically when you pick a president from one zone, you have moved every other thing to another side, and it begins to recalibrate itself digitally or automatically. You only need to pick the first. That's how zoning operates. But in federal character, there is a template approved based on our planning processes, based on our population, according to the census results, and the review quarterly, yearly, by the National Bureau of Statistics, Planning Commission, and other, allied institutions that look at current events and update the template upon which the character, federal character processes operate. But when you talk about zoning, we are talking about leadership. And when you talk about leadership, what leadership essentially is supposed to be is quality leadership that will deliver value and uphold the principles of federal character. Now, you cannot have, and I've always said this, if we are going to be honest to ourselves, how many tribes or dialects do we have in Nigeria? If we are honest about zoning, we should zone it to the whole tribes.
Dr. Ibrahim Belodelda, I think this is a conversation which we must continue, but because
Yes.
of time, I would have to put a halt to it for today. So we
Okay.
look forward to hearing from you more and extending this conversation, and all the best with your ambition as it proceeds. And to our viewers at home, we will have the recorded versions of this episode on YouTube. You can also follow us on our social media pages. It's The Weekend Show NG on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. You can also follow me on social media, Andy Madaki on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. But stay tuned. We will be back next week, Saturday, with more on The Weekend Show.